All right, guys. It is the UFC 288 recap show on the Sherdog Radio Network. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Joining me, as always, is usually Ben Duffy, but he had some other assignments for Sherdog, so I'm going solo for a minute, but I'm bringing in a guest, a special guest who's been on here many times. I'm going to try to make the show a little bit shorter than usual. I'll kind of tell you, I'm kind of dealing with some personal things in my life. If you guys can see, I don't know if you can see my neck right here. I have shingles right now. And if I got diagnosed this week, it's extremely painful. My right ear feels like it's about to explode. Yeah, it's really painful. So I'm gonna try to get through this as much as I can, but I really want to go to sleep. But anyways, so that's kind of the situation I'm going in. But shout out to all the people in the chat. A lot of the usuals in there. We'll try to get to all your comments as much as possible. But joining me, as always, is my co-host doing his best Diego Lopez impersonation. It is Dev Goes Fishing. Dev, how you doing, my man?
Hey, I'm good, man. Sorry to hear about your diagnosis. Hopefully you
Yeah.
feel better soon. Shit.
Yeah, a couple of days ago, my ear was on fire. And I'm like, what the hell's going on my ear? And I couldn't see anything. And I just started thinking I was imagining things. And then a couple of days later, I had this rash broke out, but it is way worse in the back of my head. This doesn't do it justice. You can see it on my side of my face, behind my ear, and the back of my head is way worse than my neck. Anyways, at first, like a day ago, I was like, man, I got shingles, and I was like, man, I've been saying shingles is super rough. Like, you guys are a bunch of bitches. It doesn't even hurt that much. Yeah, well, that was until today. I felt like my face has been on fire for about, I don't know, 12 hours. Anyways, let's get right into it. Main event. We had almost like a unification bout in Aljamain Sterling defending his bantamweight title against the previous champion Henry Cejudo. Oh, no, actually not the previous, because before that was actually Patricia Young, but two before, a guy that never lost a belt, Henry Cejudo. Aljamain Sterling won by split decision. I'm going to throw this out to the chat, and I'll throw it out to you, Dev. Guys, tell me your scorecard, because I didn't see 3 rounds with Cejudo. I had it 48-47 for Aljamain Sterling. I thought it could have even been 4-1. Dev, tell me how I'm wrong.
I scored round 2 for Henry. Round 3 was definitely like a toss-up round. Round 5 was kind of clearly Henry's round, if you ask me. I gave rounds 2 and 3 to Henry as well. Sometimes and I think everyone's guilty of this, where they'll start throwing up.
Hold on, let me just start. You said 2 and 3 for Henry,
2 and
then
3,
5?
and then 5 as well.
So you scored for Henry Cejudo.
I did. I scored the 5 for Henry.
Yeah, you're crazy.
And I just don't. Sterling's leaf blower offense. Just we saw another fight like this tonight, where after I saw that that Chaos Williams fight, where judges are kind of just scoring leaf blower offense, but I just didn't see Sterling land a ton of effective strikes. He landed a shit ton of stuff, a lot of leg kicks, a lot of body kicks, but there was never a moment where Henry had to take the back foot due to strikes. Sterling, on the other hand, would constantly get hit with things, shoot down, get on his hands and knees. Sterling is one of those guys where I kick myself in the nuts every time he fights, because I just don't believe in him. And even after tonight, I'm like, Sean O'Malley's gonna knock him out. If he just walks forward like that into Sean O'Malley, he's gonna get sparked.
Really? I think Aljamain Sterling, and we never do this. We never make predictions on the next fight without doing tape study. And in fairness, we haven't seen the ground game of Sean O'Malley too much, but I think Aljamain Sterling takes down Sean O'Malley immediately,
squeezes his head off,
backpacks him until either submits him or he just does it for 5 rounds. I think that's a fantastic stylistic matchup for Aljamain Sterling. But yeah, I had it. I think I had it 3-2. I gave Cejudo the 5th round. I actually gave Sterling the 2nd round. I gave Cejudo a 3rd round, and even that one I didn't feel good about.
Sure.
I felt like the volume in the 3rd round was for Sterling, but Cejudo probably landed the better shots, and then the big slam at the end is why I gave it to Cejudo, because it's like, oh, he had the biggest moment. He had a lot of control time. I feel two ways. Well, we'll talk about Aljamain Sterling. One thing about Aljamain Sterling, we have to say this is, however you feel about Aljamain Sterling, you know, he's not the most popular guy or anything like this, but the argument that he isn't the argument that he isn't the best is gone. I mean, he's proven it. He just beat Henry Cejudo. Now, I know there's always going to be people that's not going to give him credit. I mean, when you add in the way he won the title by disqualification. The only time in history anybody won the title by disqualification. You know, even in like WWE, you can't win the title by disqualification. Now, obviously, I'm talking about a real sport compared to sports entertainment. But, you know, then he defends against Jan, and he wins a split decision that a lot of people thought he lost. Very close fight, could have went either way. Then he goes against TJ Dillashaw, and he wins a fight, dominates him, but TJ Dillashaw gets injured immediately. There was, you know, stories about him being injured the whole time. He should have been taking the fight. You know, basically just went in for a paycheck. Then the fourth fight in a row, he wins a split decision against Henry Cejudo. Whoever's going to say, well, he's out for 3 years. He's way undersized. He was retired. He's 30. I think he's like 36 years old.
36.
Yeah. So there's always going to be those people. But eventually you have to give this guy his due. Like, eventually you got to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, go to Sherdog.com right now and just look at his record. Just go look at the resume. Like, you know, if you had no idea about the stigma and the way the fan base felt about Aljamain Sterling, like, he was getting booed tonight in New Jersey. They were screaming for Henry. He was in his backyard. He came out to New York.
We'll talk. Well, hold on. We'll talk about that. We'll talk. Like, let's put a pin on that because
sure.
Because this I want to get into in a little bit, but I thought he did some things. I thought he did a lot of things correct. One, well, you know what I actually feel watching this fight? I feel like if I was a coach of either side, I'd be very upset in the way that they fought. To me, Aljo wrestled too much.
Yeah.
But he was sticking and moving. Leg kick, jab, move, jab, move. I really feel if Aljamain Sterling fought like Charles Jourdain fought tonight, he cruises to a victory.
And he even had success in the clinch as well. He had a lot of good knees in the clinch. He was definitely, you know, they both are good in the clinch. Henry's also, you know, pretty underrated in the clinch there. He also has really good knees. But even Aljamain had a lot of good knees in the clinch. Man, his volume is just like a leaf blower style volume where like and I don't know if it's just like he's one of those guys that just lacks power no matter how hard he throws. He's also fighting the best dudes in the world at this point. And like, you're not gonna, you know, we know that you are not gonna stop Henry Cejudo with leg kicks. Like, that's a fact. You can leg kick him for 15 rounds straight. You're not going to stop him. Like, we know that about Henry. So maybe it's also the type of guys he's fighting, but I just have never, like, when was the last time you saw him really put someone in trouble with his striking?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely not his game. I mean, I think he can score with the striking, but yeah, sure. he's not a power puncher. I mean, he's got a lot of variety, so that's one thing I think he does really well. Like, he kind of gets you guessing. You can't get comfortable because of the way he does, and because of his very looping to the side style, it kind of falls into takedowns too, where you're thinking he's doing one of these punches and actually going down to like a single or something. So that's one issue I had with Sterling, where I felt like he made it tougher than it was. And then if I'm Cejudo's camp, I'm going, why didn't you go the offensive wrestling more?
When he
committed to the offensive wrestling, he was, I mean, the first takedown, it was all he did was just unhooked side turn and like knee tap him right down. Yeah. He went the inside trip a couple times. And finally, he just does a snatch single, just runs him right over at the very end. And I mean, he's clearly the better wrestler. Now, MMA grappling is different, and Sterling showed that he can hang with anybody. But if he wanted to take him down, hold him down, play that guard game, and just like when Sterling shot and he had that front headlock position over and over again, I'm surprised. Like, I would have been saying, like, head in the hole, take the back, like you would in regular wrestling. I feel like he let Sterling off the hook. Sometimes he just let him back up.
If you're
And
gonna
to me, that was
pancake
the
him, yeah, like
huh?
you need to. If he's gonna pancake him, like he needs to make him pay in all of those little exchanges where he's letting him up. Like if you're gonna pancake him, and then let him up, like make him pay in that little moment break where he's getting to his feet. Bust him with an elbow, bust him with an uppercut as he's coming up. Like he wasn't making him pay. If you're gonna pancake your opponent and lay all over him, like you need to make him pay in those weird transitions standing up.
Have you ever
Um,
wrestled?
no,
Yeah, I could tell.
well, but he
No,
still
no,
did
no,
like he
no,
still did
no,
nothing.
no, the only reason why I'm saying that is you keep saying pancake him, and it's actually a very common move in wrestling, and it's actually the complete opposite of sprawling.
Sure,
It's actually when
just
you
like,
like.
but just
But
pancake him down,
I know what you meant. It's just funny when you first said
especially
pancake.
in all of those like front headlock like positions. Why isn't he just didn't do anything.
I hated it. I just didn't get why he
It
wasn't
was
making them
weird.
pay. Like take his back or get to like try to get to like a near side cradle and drop some knees on his stomach or something. I was really surprised, and I think Cejudo to me showed that he's still one of the best guys in the world. I mean, he just went with the champion. He went split decision with the champion that this guy's in this chat who thought he should have won. So I definitely think he showed he still has ability, but there's some things about him. One is his size. Like he's obviously undersized for bantamweight. He's always been undersized for bantamweight, and eventually he was going to run into the giants. I mean, when you think about the guys he beat
Yeah.
at bantamweight, Marlon Moraes, he's a stocky guy, but he's not a tall guy. He was going to have trouble with the taller guys. I mean, Dominic Cruz the same way as Moraes, but Sterling, Sanhagen, O'Malley, like the size of those guys, that just the length is going to be an issue. I also think a big thing in this fight was the output. He couldn't hang at all with the output of Aljamain Sterling. I mean, Sterling was throwing 5 strikes for every time Cejudo threw one. And to me, that says more not about the layoff, but about his age.
That's what I was about to say. He looked 36 tonight. Where
Yeah.
he also like in his Dominic Cruz fight, for example, like when he set up that knee up the middle, where they're both fainting at each other, fainting at each other, fainting at each other. The second that Dominic moves, like Henry's not a lightning bolt anymore. He's still great. Like he's still fucking Henry Cejudo. But like his in and out entries, like he used to be able with his karate stance, he would be able to just boom, leap into the pocket and throw straight down the pipe. He wasn't really doing that tonight. Like he wasn't throwing straight punches. I felt like there was a lot of opportunities for him to fire straight. Um, he has had tons of success with his straight punching, and he's throwing a lot of looping shit. I know that Aljo was cutting angles, really working the outside of the cage, but Aljo was just allowing him to pressure, and Henry, didn't have that speed. He used to be able to just, I mean, blast into the pocket and just throw straight shots down the pipe, and Henry just he looked 36 tonight. I'm sure you heard about that stat that was rolling around where, anyone under 170
Yeah.
pounds, like this goes to show you that like really makes a difference. Like,
Yeah. I mean, he lost the split decision to the champion, so I don't want to write him off too much. I mean, one guy's opinion went one way instead of the other
sure.
way. You know, um, another thing, and I'm glad that Marcus Musa just brought this up about Cejudo's wrestling. Now his wrestling obviously is still good. I mean, he took down Sterling, a straight wrestling match. He beat Sterling. The thing though is, I don't know if he can shoot through your hips anymore. He didn't shoot one time. Everything was grabbing the clinch, going the overhook, underhook, the 50-50 position, and then going with inside trips.
It's
Uh,
yeah, it's the
like
same.
shooting on the hips and driving through, he doesn't do it anymore. And
Yeah.
so that's why I said if I was his coach, I'd want him to wrestle. And the reason why, I don't know if you can shoot for that, but close in the distance to wrestle that way, because I don't know if you caught this, but in the third round, it was really close. There's about 15 seconds or so left. And you could hear someone from Cejudo's coach, I think it was Eric Albaicin, but I'm not sure who it was, but says, takedown wins the round. And then Cejudo goes, hears him and just goes for takedown and just slams Sterling. And I was like, dude, why didn't you wrestle the whole time?
Yeah, like do what you did to DJ. Like that's how you beat DJ. Like Henry's one of the only guys. Like how many high level wrestlers would get into MMA and have a 15 years later still have the ability to rely on their wrestling. Most of those dudes get to the MMA and they just they're just like, screw this, I got an overhand right and I just want to bang now. And Henry is still clearly a high level wrestler. um you'd think he might have also, like, he's so fast, his scrambles are so good. I am so surprised that he had never really worked any, at least like a back take game in with his, into his game at all. That would be just something interesting that he could potentially do. I'm surprised that he never really developed that.
Yeah, I think that some has to do with being shorter in the division. Probably hurts that. Hey, but one thing we just got to mention is just I've said this many times. I kind of feel like I've been the person who's been leading this sentiment is when people talk about their wrestling credentials of certain people. They mention Olympic gold medalists and this and that. Wrestling is super hard to sustain as you get older. It's a grind. It's explosive movements. It's super hard. If you've ever done a wrestling practice, to be able to keep those skills for so long is extremely hard. Uh, Now back to Aljamain Sterling, and we'll get into the Sean O'Malley thing in a second. So Henry Cejudo is more marketable than Aljamain Sterling. I mean, he's the Olympic champion. He's the king of cringe. He's the stupid things. He's a memorable person. Aljamain Sterling is a guy who never gets any respect, um, based on all the stuff we talked about earlier: the DQ, the split decisions, the TJ Dillashaw. None of these things are his fault, but he kind of, and he's kind of cringy himself too. But you know what? I wasn't going to do this, but I should do this. Ben's not here, so I will apologize ahead to Ben because one thing we don't do is politics on this show. Is me and Ben are actually very different in our political views, but we definitely don't let that change our relationship. We have a great relationship. I saw a media member tweeting out saying like, "Oh, Aljamain Sterling getting booed in his own hometown." First of all, New Jersey and Long Island are two different areas. Like now they're very close on the map. I get that, but someone from Long Island will not say that from New Jersey and vice versa. So it's
demographically also very different.
Yeah. But second thing, so he said, "Oh, you know why he's getting booed," suggesting that it's racism. I want to. I hate people like this because there is racism in the world. I'm sure there's people out there who don't like Aljamain Sterling because he's black. Obviously, there's people like that. But Jesus Christ, like I was in New York City in November when Izzy Adesanya fought Alex Pereira, and Izzy got the biggest chair in the entire building. He's not from New York. He's from freaking Australia, sorry, New Zealand, excuse me. Well, actually, he's from Nigeria, really, but
Sure.
But you get what I'm saying. And he's black, and he got a huge share. Like, don't put racism into things. Aljamain Sterling gets booed because a lot of people think he faked an injury to win the title. A lot of people think his backpack style is boring. They don't like his personality. Anderson Silva's black, and he got huge shares. Rampage Jackson got huge shares. Like, Francis Ngannou was knocking guys out cold, didn't get cheers. Like, come on, guys.
Let's switch over to another. Like, what about Deontay Wilder, Gervonta Tank Davis?
Yeah, exactly.
What
Lawrence Taylor wasn't popular in New York during his time. Listen, if I'm a New Englander, defending New Yorkers, like, come on.
Yeah, or any other professional sport outside of I think there are probably people that don't like him for other reasons outside of the Petrion fight, the way he won the belt. But I'm pretty sure if you took a vote, most people would hate him, for the fact that the way he won the belt and the way that, did you see that little run-in he had with Henry's team after, right after they weighed in? You could tell he was pretty drained out and pissed off where they were mouthing off, but he's like, "I'm going to give all of you guys a wedgie." And like, that's how he is, like, angry. Like, so people aren't going to like that. Like, it's weird, like he is very cringy, like you said. So I think, more people probably dislike him for the fact that he gets angry and he says he's going to give someone a wedgie.
Yeah.
Like that.
I don't want to go too far on that path, but I was like tweeting with this person right before, and they're like, "What? Like, just be better." Like, there's real racism in the world. like we don't have to fake racism that isn't there. Like Aljamain Sterling is disliked, and you know he basically was accusing all of MMA fans and particularly UFC fans. You know, like, yeah, because Leon Edwards doesn't get a chair in London, right? When he freaking kicked off Kamaru Usman's head. You know, like come on. Anyways, I don't. We already went way down. We already went way down too far than we should have. Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley's next. Does he deserve it? I say yeah. I mean, he beat Jan. I mean, there's obviously the argument from Rob. Rob's not going to want to fight Sterling and vice versa, and that's always going to be an issue.
God, that's what we would love to see, though, right?
If I'm the UFC, I do the Sean O'Malley first.
Sure, 100%.
It makes sense, and I mean he's your marketing king, but I mean to me it sells itself. You know, you have he's playing the Henry Cejudo role today. You know, he's going to be the more popular. He's going to be the bigger name. But turn it up even more. A younger guy, more, not cringe. Yeah, I guess he's cringy. You know, he's going to say something outrageous while he's smoking weed during the show. Get them in. I don't know if it's possible for that November show in New York City.
Aljo was saying September in the post fight. And that's why it took me a couple seconds to hop on here because I was that whole.
I don't know where September. Do we know where
September is? Boston. I think they said Boston, Massachusetts. Actually,
I think Boston's August. I don't think it's September. Is it September? I hope it is.
Yeah, I think it's. I think Anik said. Sterling said September. And that's going to be in Boston. Someone in the chat probably picked it up. If you guys can correct us, please do. I do like what Ben Cooley said. He did say, what did he say? Overreacting takes validity away from real issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
he's absolutely.
And that's just everything in life, regardless of like anything, Yeah. So that's all I have to say about
I might get in trouble. I might get in trouble from Sherdog for saying the stuff I did. But if I do, then that's I blame Ben for not being here to police me. Yeah.
I think it's the fight to make. And it's gonna be compelling. Like it's one of those like striker versus grappler that the UFC just loves to sell to us like over and over and over again. And can Sterling spark, or can Sterling take his back and squeeze his head off? Likely. Can Sean O'Malley spark him as he just throws a bunch of volume because he's a very long, tall, powerful striker? Possibly. Am I here for it? Yeah. I mean, I'll watch anything that the UFC feeds me at this point. And there's absolutely no way that he's going to 145 to fight Volkanovski after we watched the Volkan Islam fight, when Islam is just like a way souped up version of Aljo. You know what I mean? Like, why would you?
Yeah. No,
I mean, Islam fight. You're like, I don't want shit to do with Volkan. Like, screw that.
I could see it going after you beat Sean O'Malley.
Yeah.
To me, when you have a very marketable fight, but it's also a very good style, in my opinion, a very good stylistic matchup for you, then you take that fight first. Then maybe you have Merab and now you have Merab and you've already defeated everybody. You really have nobody else to fight other than your teammate, and they're beyond teammates. They're best friends and main training partners. Cejudo, he was taking off his gloves. I thought he was going to retire again, but he's on the fence. I'm going to throw an idea, but I'll let you guys decide first. What do we do with Henry Cejudo if he wants to fight? And I don't think he's going to fight again. I don't think he's going to, but if he does.
I wrote down I'm not matchmaking for Henry because I think he retires. That's what.
Okay. I think he does too. I think he does too.
That's my.
So I was thinking, and I'll throw it out to the chat, and you guys tell me if there's somebody you'd be interested in. Skynet throws out Merab. The only issue with that is, what if Cejudo beats him? I'm not saying he will, but if Cejudo beats him, if Cejudo beats him, now you got the situation again. And I mean, I guess you could sell a rematch with Sterling if he wins, because the first fight was so close, and
And if he beats Marab, that's like, I mean, that's taking the carrot and dangling it in front of Aljo, you know?
Yeah. So the fight I would do if I was Henry Cejudo. So you know this is how we do the. So if you watch this, like you have to understand how we do things here. This is where ultimate rulers. Nobody has a say. No one can say no. Okay, because we know that's not how matchmaking works. But if I'm Henry Cejudo and I still want to fight, I still think retirement is probably the best thing you could do. His YouTube thing, which is really popular, he's so good at it. He really is.
He's conceited, so he comes off as a little bit of an asshole. But he's fucking intelligent. Like I watch his breakdowns, and
they're good.
Dude, he's like, I want him to coach. Like he's got a lot of knowledge to give.
It's probably the second best previews out there.
Yeah, like it's just
because obviously the first is the Shillan and Duffy preview show.
Yeah, well, like, and I won't say where you can find him, but I'll mention him because he's also good at this. But Luke Thomas does something similar.
Yeah, Luke Thomas is very good,
and Henry is on par with him, which is extremely high level.
Yeah, Luke Thomas is really good. He's really good.
Like,
what I would do if I was Henry Cejudo and Bobby Boucher beat me to it, I'm asking for my release. I'm asking for the UFC to release me. I'm calling up one championship, and I'm saying, DJ beat me. I beat DJ. Let's do it. Third fight in one championship. Now, I know they've trained with each other since.
They're like buddies
now. I actually asked the DJ about a third fight with him and Cejudo. This is before they really trained together, and he's like, "No, we already fought. Like, I'm not interested in that anymore." And I'm like, "Really?" I thought it was like, "Yeah, I definitely want that one." And so this is me being the supreme ruler in the world. Because to me, when I think about matchups, it's the only matchup that makes sense at all for Henry Cejudo.
Yeah, or like I would love to see Henry in one, just doing like all the weird shit that they do, like a mixed rules bout with like, you know, Haggerty or some like crazy, you know, like if Cejudo continues to fight, I hope he can go to a place like one and just do weird stuff like DJ's done, you know, even if he doesn't fight for a belt, like just do something cool and weird, or go goes to bare knuckle.
Oh god, I hate bare knuckle. I shouldn't say that because I don't watch it. I don't like. People are shocked that I don't watch it at all. Like I never watch these fights. I don't care.
I'm not into it, and I watched this past, and I'm just like couldn't get into it because I don't like the 2-minute rounds. It's just way too like.
I just don't care. I don't want to watch washed-up fighters fight each other.
But I love the drama around it. Like yeah. I love Mike Perry busting out, you know, Luke Rockhold's teeth. Like I like that. I think it's funny. And good for Perry for, you know, doing something, making money. But that's where I'm at with them. I really hope Henry just goes and lives his life, man. He's got a second kid on the way.
Yeah.
He's 36. There's no going up from here.
No.
You're at bantamweight and you're 36 years old. You cannot do more than what Henry's done in combat sports.
Yeah.
You just can't. Like, there's not enough lifetime. Like, you don't have a long enough prime. There's nothing like Henry's done it all. Like, he is literally one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. Just go have your cake and eat it too, man. You lost a fight, but you made a bunch of money. Go be a dad.
Yeah. Before we move on, I did the 30 CUS. That's the same thing. How much? I have no idea either. I literally don't know either. But all right. Before that, we had a co-main event that got thrown in kind of last minute. Between a number one contender matchup is Gilbert takes on Belal Muhammad, and we just talked about Aljamain Sterling as a guy who doesn't get any credit. Aljamain Sterling, see Belal Muhammad. You guys can kind of like hang out and complain about MMA fans together because he's the same way. Belal Muhammad wins a unanimous decision over Gilbert Burns. Not the funnest fight. Very, very Belal Muhammad type fight. Muhammad did a lot of really good things. You know, he fights out of both stances really well. He was L-stepping out of things, throwing some hard kicks. But you always have to ask the question, and this kind of feels a lot like the TJ Dillashaw fight with Aljamain Sterling, where there was an injury. Gilbert Burns could not use his left hand. It was so funny. I don't know what round it was. I think we were in the second round, maybe, or maybe it was the third round. I think it was the second round. The commentary team was talking like, "Oh yeah, I think his right hand is broke, so because he's not throwing." I'm like, "What? That's all he's throwing is his right hand. I said the opposite. I said,
exact
I think it's his
opposite.
left hand.
Yeah.
And then like a minute later, they're like, actually, I think it's his left hand. So
Oh God. Belal
it's just one of
Muhammad.
these ones because it's like the same thing. Like he gets the biggest name, on his record, like absolute killer in Gilbert Burns, and he's still not going to get the credit.
Oh, there's
But
an asterisk on this dude. He's not fighting for a title after this because the asterisk of Gilbert Burns' injury.
oh no, he is.
Like,
No, he is.
like what?
There he is because there's nobody else.
Yeah.
But I'll say this: Aljamain Sterling against Tito Dillashaw. I kind of said, well, it's not, the not getting credit isn't his fault. Like he put it on Dillashaw, he got him out there. I feel like Belal Muhammad should get a little hate. And I'll tell you why. If Gilbert Burns is as tough as they come, that said, you see him in the third round saying to the commentary team, like, Muhammad ain't working. Like, he wasn't hiding the injury. I really feel like if Belal Muhammad turns up the heat at all, he probably gets Gilbert Burns out of there. He gets a TKO win over Gilbert Burns.
Well, here's the thing is maybe that's him turning up the heat. Maybe we saw him turning up the heat. Like maybe that's what he's got.
No, because in the post-fight interview, they said, oh, did you see that he was hurt? And he's like, yeah. And they're like, oh, he goes, but, when he's hurt, he's dangerous. So, I don't want to make a mistake. So, we kind of played it safe. I'm like, dude, you just told people like, yeah, I saw a guy he's got one hand and I still don't want to go for a finish. So what does that mean when the guy has two hands? Like that, you're definitely not going to go finish then.
I mean, get in your car and go outside, take your pocket knife, stab it into the front tire of your car and go try to drive it away because that's how Gilbert Burns was fighting tonight. Gilbert Burns, he knocked out Demi Amaya with his left hook. Like Gilbert Burns is extremely reliant on his left hand. He's a pretty good jabber. He's got a really good check left hook, and he literally slashed. He had a slash tire. He could not operate. Not only that, but Gilbert Burns is not a quitter. He's a tough son of a bitch. But in between rounds, after they would ring the bell and they go back to their corner, he would just sit there and you could see him like kind of look into the audience even for a second and just shake his head and he's like, I'm fucked. Like he knew he was down bad. He knew he was down on the cards. He knew and Gilbert Burns' corner can see that. Belal Muhammad's corner can see that. Like why?
But you know what I would have said if I was his cornerman? Like, at least you're facing Belal Muhammad, because if that was somebody else in the division, like you're getting hurt bad. If that was Shemaev, that was Rachmanov, even a guy like Jeff Neal.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff Neal could take your head off. Like
No,
even Wonder Boy with one arm, you don't have the takedowns. Look what Wonder Boy just did, to Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, like you got Kevin Holland, like you got Kevin Holland in front of you, and he's not near to the top, but you got Kevin Holland, you got one arm, like he might spark you dead. It's just.
So I give Belal Muhammad credit for trying to be like this villain thing, trying to get over by like, okay, I'm not gonna be cheered, so let me be a villain. It's not hitting. It's not like Colby Covington's thing. Some people think it's really cheesy, and I definitely think in a lot of moments it's very, very cheesy. But he still knows how to get under a lot of people's skin. Cejudo has a cringe thing, but it was like original and clever. Like Belal Muhammad's trying. It's just it's so obvious that his personality is fake when he's doing this, like, talking shit to New Jersey and I'm gonna smash your boy. And it's like, but Gilbert Burns is New Jersey's boy, like guys from Brazil and Florida. Like, so I feel like the UFC has a huge marketing problem in the next matchup because he's getting the title shot against either Leon Edwards and Colby Covington, and this is what you either have. You either have A or B. You have A, which is two guys with not a lot of personality. I mean, Leon Edwards is the same way. Like that was the big knock on Leon Edwards, is that he has no personality. So you have Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammad with the no personality, and then you have the other side. You have Colby Covington, who's the villain, and then you have Belal Muhammad, who's also trying to play the villain. So, if Covington wins, I don't really know what the UFC will be rooting for. I'm assuming Covington because of the three people, he's the most marketable. I mean, he's getting the push. he's getting the title shot really before he deserves it over other people. So I'm assuming that's who the UFC is rooting for. But it's still not like welterweight division used to be a really fun division, and right now the top
It's like
ain't looking
turning
too
into
good.
middleweight. It's turning into middleweight, man. Like it's how surprised would you be if Jack Della Maddalena just murders Sean Brady and then they try to book JDM versus Bilal Muhammad and a title
Oh,
elimination?
I no, I think they already announced it. I mean, I know they announced that Sean O'Malley was getting the next title shot, and apparently he, according to Aljamain Sterling, he turned down the title shot. So who knows? Um,
Oh gosh.
I will. I threw this up there. Head 30C West said head kick knockouts is better than a personality. No, I disagree on that. But I will say this: brutal knockouts is, and when I say better than, I'm not saying like what I want to watch. I'm saying for the UFC sense. I mean, the Paddy Pimblett doesn't get head kick knockouts, and the UFC still rather have him be the champion than Leon Edwards. But I'll say this. Belal Muhammad is Leon Edwards if you minus head kick knockouts and like the London backing. Like he doesn't have either one of those. He doesn't have like a place that's really booming MMA, so that it's like it's fun going there. The crowd is really, he doesn't have that, and he doesn't have the knockouts. He just keeps winning.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of his career, he goes and fights for a title or wins a title. Or I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of his career turns into like what Tony Ferguson had to deal with, where like you just become like the forever number one contender, but somehow, some way the UFC like weasels you out of your actual title fight, and then you get put up against a killer, like someone like Justin Gaethje, maybe that's Jack Della Maddalena or something like that, that ends up just turning your career around, for the worst. I just don't see and I'm at the point where like, and I'm sure you're there too, where you don't care what the UFC says, like until that vow agreement is
Absolutely.
like signed and released.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
give a and I just don't. There's an asterisk on this win. It's Bilal Muhammad. Like if the fight would have been the other way and Gilbert Burns would have won and Bilal would have been injured and it would have looked the exact same way as it did tonight, Gilbert Burns is getting the title shot, no doubt about it. But
oh yeah,
I'm just I really do feel like there's like a 75% chance that Bilal gets weaseled out of this title fight and he ends up having to fight like a Shavkat Rakhmonov, or if
I don't think so, because there was already
there's no one
like,
there though. I mean,
well, there's no one there, and there was already buzz for that he already has been passed up. He's been waiting so long already. I do think they finally do right by him, and he gets the title shot. The one thing that could hurt him is that Covington versus Edwards isn't booked yet. So if that gets delayed and it's something like where there's a real long
sure
layoff, and then because obviously he's got to wait for them to recover and fight. So it's like the fact that they're not even booked yet is troublesome.
If Shavkat Rakhmonov gets booked in a fight and just absolutely kills somebody, like he might jump Bilal.
I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna.
I just the UFC just does him dirty.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't think he just absolutely smashes somebody.
Sure.
That's but more of the jumping. I really think they do Muhammad a solid, and he finally gets the title shot.
Yeah.
Burns, how if
I didn't
Burns is going to fight anybody.
This was too many. He's in his late 30s, Gilbert Burns. He's fought way too many times back to back in a row. I purposely wrote my next matchup for him is for him to take a break. Like,
yeah, but he's not gonna. I mean, he might. I mean, depending on depending on what's going on with the left hand.
Yeah, maybe hopefully it's not like labrum issues or some shit like that. Hopefully it's not too bad. But he's still right there. Like he's probably still going to keep his ranking. Maybe he'll lose a spot. I wrote down for him to take a break because I just think he's been fighting too often. But
well, I agree that he should take a break.
That's what I have written down for him. I don't have a fight. But maybe the UFC books him in a fight like against Kevin Holland or something like that. I could totally see them trying to do something like that.
Yeah, I'm booking him against Shavkat.
Yeah, and
All
maybe
right, let's move
Shavkat
on.
kills him.
Let's move on. Third fight from the top. This is the third fight in a row that I got wrong. But
I got them all right.
the night started off great. As I started off 9-0, I was like, "Well, this is fantastic." I finished 9-3. So, Jessica Andrade took on Yan Xianan. Yan Xianan looked absolutely fantastic. I mean, she looked fast. Her feint was freezing her, and then now she's coming into her power. One punches, drops Jessica Andrade, fills it up with shots. Jessica Andrade, she does what Jessica Andrade does. Like, she's going to have these fights where she runs in with her swinging big power shots and runs right into a right hand. We saw it against Wei Li Zhang. It looked like Fabricio Verdum chasing Stipe Miocic or Chris Cyborg chasing Amanda Nunes. But you have to ask this question based on her age, based on how long she's been doing this, how much damage she's taken. It's been back-to-back fights where she's been beat up. You got to start asking the question, is she done? Is she done being a elite one? So there's kind of two questions to you. One, Yan Xianan, talk about that first, and then talk to me about Jessica Andrade.
I will talk about Yan Xianan because she won first. I liked everything she did. I'm in between, like, has Yan Xianan turned a corner for the better, or has Jessica Andrade turned a corner for the worse? It's 2023 and MMA is just so different. Like, you cannot just be a bullish person that bites down on your mouthpiece and just swings big, powerful hooks and pressuring forward. Like, there are people that can now cut angles, plant their feet, and throw overhand punches. Or there's people like Erin Blanchfield that will stay in the pocket and throw straight punches. Like, she's fighting the same way but losing different ways, still striking, where like Erin Blanchfield kind of tuned her up with straight shots down the pipe, and Yan Xianan kind of cut an angle, planted her feet, and timed her up over the top. Like, two different setups. She's still doing the same things. Yan Xianan looked really good. Her timing, sometimes she seems like a fighter that takes a little bit to get going, but she found her timing like right away. And she wasn't scared of Jessica Andrade, which I think that's also like another factor where you just kind of have to get over the fear of fighting someone like her. And I'm still torn on, are Chinese fighters, the Achilles heel of Jessica Andrade? Because those are the only two people that have ever knocked her out.
Yeah, she said had a bad run. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Chinese fighters, as the broadcast brought up Yan Xianan possibly fighting the current champion Wei Li Zhang. Amanda Lemos is right there in the mix too, and Yan Xianan, she's only on a 2-fight winning streak.
Yeah,
but to me, when there's only two people, is really, we're not getting a lot of rematches or Rose Namajunas thrown back in there or something like that. To me, you got to strike right now. You do the two Chinese fighters, have them fight each other, main event of a Chinese card. To me, and I go all out. I do like an entire Asian card.
Sure.
Do
Even
the
put it
entire
on,
thing.
put it on their time zone and everything.
Put it on some weird time, where we're watching it at like 4 a.m.
Yeah, fuck it.
Or we're watching it Friday night instead of, whatever.
If the number one contender was somebody like, Carla Esparza or something like that, to where, like, yeah, she's a threat, but like, for me, from my analyst look into it, I would say Amanda Lemos is way more dangerous than any of the other contenders. I still consider Amanda Lemos probably more dangerous than Yan Xianan. So if I'm Wei Li, am I going with the, other Chinese fighter that we can, do a huge fight in China, I can fight at home, or do I fight kind of an unknown, super dangerous Brazilian chick? Yeah, you got to make Yan Xianan versus.
Yeah, I'm not even getting it. I'm not getting an option if I'm the UFC. That's the fight I'm doing.
Yeah, you got to do it. And just like you said, and the UFC they're doing another road to UFC as well, which really corners that Asian market. Like,
yeah. So throw those people on there. Yeah. But with like a big, huge, title fight, kind of like what they did with Jessica Andrade when she fought. She defended the title against Wei Li Zhang, way back in the day.
Yeah.
As far as Jessica Andrade, Yeah, I'm just using her name maybe to check out somebody else. Like I threw a Loopy Godinez. I figured another bull just like her, two short ones who like throw bombs, let them go against each other and slug it out.
I put the same thing. I was thinking like you. I say you need to use Andrade to build a name. Only thing is, like, why would Jessica Andrade cut weight back to 115 again?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
You
I mean,
know,
she's lost in both divisions, so it's
like
it's it's not like a good option to change. But I mean, she's short. That's the problem. The problem she is
yeah,
undersized. She is under. I mean, I don't know.
maybe she can fight. I wrote down the names I wrote down. I wrote down a couple. Tatiana Suarez at 115. That'd be a great name to get on Tatiana Suarez's record. Maybe Jillian Robertson. The UFC seems to really like her.
Oh God, you want
Um,
to see Jillian Robinson get murdered?
or I think the best fight at 115 for her would be like Tabitha Ritchie or something like that. Another person that's similar to her size. And if Tabitha Ritchie can win this
I
fight,
think she's. I think Richie's already booked. I
um,
forget who she's booked against.
but if not, if she decides to stay at 125, though, I do think like someone maybe match her against like Casey O'Neill, see if Casey O'Neill can beat her. They like the UFC likes Casey O'Neill.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. I got it. We got to speed this up. My ear is about to explode. Mosvar Evloev took on Diego Lopez. Lopez taking the fight on like we didn't preview the fight. Like that's how we posted our show. We taped it Sunday, so he took it on like Monday or Tuesday. Uh, I'm gonna give Evloev a little bit of a pass. Like a lot of people kind of shit on him. He won a unanimous decision. He's taking the fight on short notice. To me, this feels a lot like a Tony Ferguson versus Lando Venata situation, where he wins, but he's not going to get a lot of credit. Everyone's going to talk about how good Lopez looked.
Yeah,
I'm not. I don't mean this as in like Lopez is not going to have success moving forward, but like don't look down on most of all Evloev because of this. Like,
he took the fight on short notice. Both of them did.
yeah, I mean, one
You know,
guy, but I'm saying like you're a top 10 guy in the world, top 15 guy in the world.
yeah,
You should be able to smash a guy coming in, but you're not doing a full camp for him. You're not training for him. You're going from. And they're both grapplers. In fairness, they are both grapplers, Mitchell and Lopez, but still, they're different. One thing about Lopez was really big. Like
yeah,
and Evloev is small for the weight class, so I think it's a little bit of
yeah,
combination, one guy being big and one guy
sure.
being small. But I still think like Evloev showed good things. Like I thought his short striking, tight striking was good. His pressure was good. His ability to he was getting caught in submissions, but he found like he showed insane toughness, find not to panic, to get out of these submissions. I mean, he almost got Kimura, armbarred, knee barred,
That knee bar at
and
the final seconds there. My gosh, his knee's
yeah,
gonna be
multiple
screwed.
times he almost got knee barred. So I'm giving him a little bit of pass. Lopez on the head, like he looks good, but like pump the brakes on a little bit too. Like
Oh
we've
yeah,
seen this before, where guys come in, they have this big splash, and then everyone wants to crown him really high. I'm thinking like Alex Hernandez, Lando Venata, like don't get too excited. He looks really, really good on the ground, though. I'll say that.
yeah, and he's like, and Crone Gracie should have watched this fight. That's all I gotta say. Um, like if you're going to be pulling guard and be fighting off your back, this you need to look like Lopez and not Crone Gracie. Um, I think Lopez looked really good. He looked huge, just like you said. Um, there was one, I think it was between at the end of the second round, like he had a full triangle, like that he could have transitioned to armbar with. Like at the closing of it was like the second round, that was like locked on Mosvar. Like if there was 30 seconds left, like that was like triangle you're not getting out of it. Did you recall seeing that? Like Lopez had multiple locked in submissions as these rounds just expired, and it's like, man, if there was just a little bit of time left, and he fought like a guy that came in on short notice. I'm surprised for someone that seemed as big as him. He had the cardio to go all 3 rounds. He was durable as shit too. People, someone his size making that weight cut to 45, like he got kind of rung up a bit, and he didn't seem discouraged. Good on him, and he's Alexa Grasso's grappling coach, so he's going to get a little more shine, I think. But slow roll him, like
Yeah,
it's just you got to slow roll this guy. He's He fought really well against number 10. For Mobsar, I'm not going to disagree with you because, again, he did also take this fight on short notice and he stayed composed. But, man, when you're that big of a favorite with the skill set that he has, the line told you he was going to go and crush him. Mosar also was the 135-pound champion over in Russia, M1 Global. So like
Yeah, he's not a big guy.
he's definitely a smaller dude, but man, I think about that fight that he had matched up with Ilya Topuria, and I watched him kind of get touched up tonight, and I was just thinking, man, it's probably a good thing he never had that fight.
Yeah, I think about the Bryce Mitchell fight too. Like,
Yeah.
I picked him over Mitchell, and then you start, questioning it.
Yeah, like,
But again, like I'm giving a little pass. I think that's the fight to do. I mean, he was calling out.
Yeah,
City
run it
wants a
back.
big name. He was already booked against Mitchell. I think that should be a fight night main event based on
Sure.
the marketability of both guys, and I don't think it should be second or third fight on a pay per view or opener of a pay per view. And the first fight of the main card, the pay-per-view card, Gracie took on Charles Jourdain. I feel like this is exactly how Jourdain needed to fight. And while he still fought that way, he actually gave Gracie more chances than Cub Swanson did. And what I mean by that is, one, he was circling near the fence a lot, where Cub Swanson was really circling away from the fence in the middle. He also was sitting on his punches more. Like he was trying to get Gracie out of there. He was like landing some big shots. So Gracie had those opportunities. Gracie has a lot of issues in MMA. One, this fight, he wasn't striking at all. He did the opposite where he said against, Cub Swanson, I was trying to hurt him. He said, trying to land shots. So in this one, he, tightened, he's tightened everything in hand. He's just trying to pillar in, but the other issue he has is he's not a wrestler. He doesn't shoot. He wants to grab. He wants to try to get like that lazy, put the leg behind the leg and try to trip it up, which like doesn't work against anybody good. He tries to pull guard and that, but that bottom game 1993 Hoist Gracie guard, that's gone. It doesn't work anymore.
No, and I wrote this in my notes because I'm like actually pretty passionate about this. I don't like it's 2023. Like just because your last name is Gracie doesn't mean that you're winning anytime you're grappling, scrambling, BJJ playing with people. Like we saw tonight that if you're gonna pull guard on people, you need to be way better than them. With your grappling, with your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
But you're pulling guard against a guy that like Kron Gracie may have all these grappling and BJJ accolades, and he might have way more BJJ trophies at home compared to Jourdain. But in MMA, like Jourdain was a better grappler because when they were grappling, Kron Gracie got nothing off. Jourdain had the top position. He's going to win that in MMA every single time. If it's a stalemate on the ground, one person's on their back, one person's on top, and the ref's not standing them up, the person on their back, 9.9 out of 10 times, that dude on his back's going to lose that round. Like, and he went to it over and over again. He seemed very lumbering, his high pillaring, his high guard, just crashing into the pocket. I would have loved to see Jourdain go to the body more. Just anytime he came in, just cut an angle and throw a big hook to the body. And, if he's covering up high, feint, cut an angle and just blast his fucking body. I would have loved to see him do that. But Jourdain fought, I mean, he didn't fight a perfect fight, but he fought a very intelligent fight, and he relied on his BJJ. He's also a black belt, and clearly the valley between these two guys is, clearly they're a lot closer when it comes to BJJ and MMA than Kron probably thought they were. Also, to another thing I want to touch on, like all week, Kron didn't seem like he even gave a shit.
Oh, he came out like a dick. Like, he really did.
They were like, oh, how do you feel about this being the 30th year? Your family name, you guys are famous because of the UFC, blah, blah, blah. They're like, what do you feel about that? Do you care? And he goes, nope.
Yeah, I know. Like, he just came off like a dick. Like, the whole week, he came off like a dick.
I'm like, you're going on live TV, dude. Like, get a haircut. Shave, bro. Like, tighten up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I hate to say that, but like, even coming on here, I'm like, okay, I'll shave, whatever. I'm not just gonna come over here looking, rough like that. Like, dude, you're like, care. Like, just give a fuck. Like, he just didn't seem to care. And the way he fought tonight also too, like, he was just like, I'm gonna have a BJJ match with Charles Jourdain, and I'm gonna, we're gonna grapple, and that's all we're gonna do. And if it doesn't go my way, the hell with it. Like,
I'm done with the Kron Gracie experience.
oh,
To me,
dude.
it feels like that style of jiu-jitsu and all that. It feels like if you could take some basketball player from the 1940s or something and transport them into today's NBA and like, hey, go play. Like it's different. It's a different world now. It's more advanced. It is what it is. Do you think we ever see him again? Like fighting MMA, fighting in the UFC?
Does anybody know where he lives in Montana? Because I could probably that would actually help answer my question. Just depending on where he's at in Montana.
I don't know if anybody actually lives in Montana. I think it's just land.
I live pretty close to Montana. I live about an hour and 20 minutes from Montana. One mountain pass over. No, two. But I don't think he fights again, man.
Yeah,
he didn't give a shit.
Yeah, like, he doesn't seem like he seemed so annoyed and didn't want to be there, and yeah,
like so he hates cutting weight. You could tell he hated cutting weight. Like,
and he's up there in age. Like he's not the youngest. I think he's like a 33, 34 years old already. So, all right, I'm gonna ask permission to do something that I've never done before on this recap show. Can we skip all the prelims and go right to the Bulls and the Bears?
Sure.
And all that. There is and if you guys are just tuning in, I don't know if you guys can see my neck. I got diagnosed with shingles this week, and I'm in super pain. And I honestly just want to end the show. I'm sorry. So, all right, let's get to the fun stuff. And obviously, the prelims will be added. Talk from the prelims will be added to the Bulls and the Bears and all that stuff. So, the awards. I have the awards.
Ooh.
Do you know the awards?
I have no clue.
Okay. Let's hear what you would give. We have a fight of the night and two performances of the night. What would you have given for the fight of the night, and what would you give to the performances? And then I'll throw it out to the chat. You guys can all do. You guys can all put yours out there, and I'll read them off and stuff. So what would you, if you were giving out bonuses, what would you give for your? Let's start with fight of the night.
Oh, fight of that. I find that hard because there was like, maybe Kennedy and Nchukwu. I think that's like, even though one person got sent crumbling to the ground, both dudes hurt each other. And like, for whatever reason, I don't know why. And maybe it's because, of like my personal like Muay Thai kickboxing, background that I've done in my past, but like vicious people in the clinch, like to me, that shit is just so fucking entertaining. Excuse my language. Like Kennedy in the clinch was so entertaining.
You're nasty.
Like, it's so awesome. Like,
I'm okay with that if that became the fight of the night, just because the first round.
Oh my gosh,
that's a round of the year candidate.
Like Kennedy's like pressuring. Devin Clark throws a straight down the pipe, hurts him. He goes freaking, falling back, and then he's landing all those shots in the clinch, and then Nchukwu gets an underhooks, flips him around, starts hammering, like crushing him with those like machete, freaking hatchet style elbows. Like that was so dope. I would give them fight of the night totally. Performance of the night.
I'll give you. I'll tell you what the actual fight of the night was.
Okay.
Evloev versus Lopez. I know. I'm okay with that. I actually might have went with the main event. It wasn't the most action-packed one, but it was right down to the very end, split decision.
Lopez got paid. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, me too. Like I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Performances. I have the performances. Let's hear who you would have given the performances to.
Okay, so there's no way they didn't give one to Kennedy then if this isn't fight of the night, and you got to give it to Kennedy and probably Matt Frevola.
Frevola and Kennedy. So Frevola did win. The other one,
Yan
Xiaonan. So I would have gave it to Yan for sure, and then I'm stuck. Yeah, Frevola obviously had an incredible knockout, especially against Drew Dober. I'm starting to really like Matt Revola. I mean, he's
Oh
got
yeah,
power. He's got this herky jerky different style. He's explosive. He's going on a nice little run right now,
his
back to
counter
back,
punching, like all of a sudden he like learned how to counter punch. Like dudes pressure him
and
and they
he's
get
knocking guys out.
like
He's beating good guys and knocking them out in the first round. He's on a
yeah.
nice run right now. But I might go with and I
Ikram,
apologize if I butchered this guy's name, but I want to go with Ikram Askarov.
you nailed the
The
name,
way
and
he,
I
the
love it
way
too.
he, it's more of the way he knocked out Phil Hawes. It was one of the best knockers I've ever seen. Like he folded the guy. He absolutely folded his body. Like when he just
Phil Hawes's knee and like his knee and or ankle or potentially both, like the way his body rolled on his ankle and the way that Ikram like he was kind of tentative. He took a good shot from Hawes, got a little staggered, and he goes, "Oh, I got this," and then just put his foot on the gas, hit him with a head kick, missed a big elbow, and then threw a 1-2 and just killed him. It was dope. Like,
yeah, the way Phil Hawes went down. Like I remember when I was in high school, there was like a hypnotist came to my high school and like did little show for us. And like they do some hypnotized thing when you say like, "All right, now you're out," and just they would like fall over. Like that's exactly how like Phil Hawes fell over. So I would give that.
yeah,
Um, Someone said Porker.
Parker.
You got me on that one. Parker Porter could have got a performance. Matt Favola, Kennedy could have got a performance. There's a lot of ones. A lot of people missing out on some money that they could have, but I think Jan Shanan for sure. I mean, not
Yeah.
many people are knocking out Jessica Andrade. So, cut list. I only have one person for the cut list.
Who do you have?
So let me tell you the way the cut list works. If both me and Dev uh, name someone for the cut list, we give the UFC permission to cut that person to open up a room for somebody else. The one person I have is Joseph Holmes. He's now I think he's one in. Let me see. Hold on. I don't know. I think he's like 1-3 in the UFC. He's missed weight, so I cut Joseph Holmes.
Yeah, and a guy like Hibero that is just like leaping into the pocket, you don't have the ability to like make him pay for any of his mistakes. Um, and you got out grappled by the guy that you were supposed to have the grappling advantage against. You're the bigger guy. You miss weight by 4 pounds, and like, yeah, this is what happens when you get contender series guys. Though, like you just give them fights and see how it all shakes out. And maybe Hibero is going to be somebody, but I don't know if Holmes is. I think he's probably going to have to go back to the regional scene too. So I agree with you on that. And that's who would be on my cut list.
All right, let's get to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and Bears are a stock market reference. Things going good, it's a bull stock. Things going bad, it's a bear stock. You don't want to be on the Bears. You want to be on the Bulls. We do it hockey style 3-2-1, with 3 being the lowest, 1 being the highest. Let's stay negative. We'll go Bears. I'll go first, if that's okay.
Sure.
All right. My number 3 bear, Kron Gracie.
Yeah.
Back-to-back losses. This guy had a lot of hype coming into UFC. People were really excited about him. Now he's looked. Not only did he lose, but he looked terrible. No offense in both fights.
He also looked like a bear. Like his, like
he looks like a guy from Montana. Number 2 is another person on back-to-back losses, Jessica Andrade.
Yeah.
And the worst thing about her is coming off back-to-back losses, stoppages in both of those, but also they're in 2 different weight classes. So now it's not like, oh, you can just go that weight class and everything's fine. That's not the case. She's behind in both of them, back really against the wall in her next fight. And my number 1 bear, I'm going to say the UFC's promotional team, because co-main event, Belal Muhammad wins. Main event, Aljamain Sterling wins. Neither guy the most marketable one. So overall, the guys they didn't want to win. Now, before someone says, "Well, they got Yan Shanan," they have China matchup. Yeah, that might trump the other 2. So you might be right. I'll throw that out there. But in the main and co-main event, the promotion didn't get what they want. Do you have some bears for me?
Yeah. My third bear is the better that dropped 10 grand on Joe Holmes and then and probably the same dude turned around and dropped 30 on Phil Hawes to try to recoup his loss and then lost 30 grand. So whatever better is dropping 10 grand on Joseph Holmes and then 30 on Phil Hawes. That's my number 3 bear.
Didn't Anthony Pettis drop like 25,000 on Belal Muhammad though?
Yeah.
That's what I saw. I don't know how true. I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah. Another bear of the night. I forget who. I think it was when Gilbert Burns was coming out. They said don't look like Russell Westbrook in the. I don't know what was
Yeah,
that
I
about?
had that. Yeah, I had that at my dude. I had that at my dude. Seriously,
What the hell was that about?
I'm probably gonna skip the dude. Seriously, just because.
Sure.
Just because honestly, guys, I'm shingles is fucking terrible. It sucks.
And
So but yeah, I feel bad for Russell Westbrook watching. Like, what the fuck, dude?
it's like, well, what I do? Who did I piss
Yeah.
off? It was just weird. And there was a couple of them tonight. Like, I'm gonna put this out there since we're gonna skip it, but I think I'm gonna switch my number 1 bear from Braxton to the judges during the Chaos Williams and Bedoya fight. I do think Bedoya won that fight. I do think that kid.
I agree.
Shafted. His boxing looked great. If I can give 5 seconds, I think the kid looked great. I think his boxing looked great. I think Chaos Williams won that fight based off of just throwing and not landing when he was getting cleanly hit. Bedoya looked great. I think the judges got that one bad, so that's going to be my number 1 bear.
Yeah, I agree. The judgment, I don't think it was. I mean, it was a close fight, but yeah, it was not the best. I'll read some of the bears out there. Chris Wiz didn't like Matt Serra talking like a parrot, repeating everything Longo says. Burns fighting a month later. Yeah, it's a chance you take.
Yeah, man.
Ben Cooley throws out Brazilian fighters not having a good night. Jessica Andrade, obviously Gilbert Burns. Claudio Rivera won, so I'm trying to think if there was anybody else who's. See Gracie.
Yeah, man.
Let's go to the Bulls. The Bulls. I'll let you go first this time.
Okay. And I gotta touch on Ikram Alaskarov. He's gonna be my number 3. He looked really good tonight. We talked about him, so and I know you're feeling it, so I won't stay too long on him. But Ikram looks really good. Hamzat still says that was his hardest fight ever, and he had Magomed Karamov from the PFL champ in his corner. Like, Ikram's a really good fighter. He's going to be a guy that we all need to watch for, especially at 185, a very kind of shallow men's division. So good on him there. My number 2 is going to be Virna Jandiroba. She looks. No one has really done that to Marina Rodriguez. Like, no one has really gone out there and just kind of like gas pedal grappled her, where they just put their foot on the gas and just kind of overwhelm her. Not even Mackenzie Dern. No one's really done that to her. Other people have had grappling and wrestling success against her. However, it wasn't like Jandiroba looks stronger tonight too. I wonder, if she can turn this into an actual game plan where she goes out there and banks a guaranteed round and a half on anybody and see how the rest shakes out. But I do think Jandiroba looked good, so I want to make her my number 2. And my number 1, I'm gonna give it to Matt Frevola. Like, got a big knockout in his hometown. He was an underdog, and he kind of, you could tell that Sarah Longo needs to get credit for their game planning. Like, that camp has some really good game. Like, those dudes really game plan really, really well. Put the hoagie rolls and the salami and the capicola to the side, and like, those dudes are good game planners. Drew Dober did the same thing he does to everybody. He entered the pocket, kind of feinting, throwing to the body, really relying on his chin. And Matt Frevola said, "Oh, well, I can hit pretty hard too. And if you're gonna walk into the pocket on me and try to punch my body, I'm gonna time you and I'm gonna crack you." So I'm gonna make Frevola my number 1.
All right. My number 3, I'm going to go Team Alpha Male. They've been on a nice run.
Yeah.
Yan Shannon won tonight. Song Yadong won last week. And don't forget, Sage Northcutt even got a win last night. So Team Alpha Male stock is going up. My number two, again, he won by split decision, but another title defense for Aljamain Sterling. You know, you can't keep knocking. He keeps winning. It's like one of those NFL teams where all of a sudden they're like 12, 13-0, and you're like, man, I didn't think this team's that good, but they just keep winning. And that's how a lot of people feel about Aljamain Sterling. So his stock goes up. And my number 1, Chinese MMA. I mean, when you can have wasn't that long ago that Chinese MMA almost was non-existent, and to now have a possible title fight where both of the fighters are from the same country of China, I think that's fantastic for Chinese MMA. So Chinese MMA is on the rise. And then then Song Yadong won a week ago too.
Last week.
Won the main event. Made a win a week ago. So, all right, guys. I know we made this much shorter than we normally do. I apologize for that.
No worries, man.
Give me your grade for the night.
One thing I do want to say before I give you the grade is Bo Nickel, just in case it gets missed. Now it's
I was saving that for the end. I would never forget Bo Nickel. But there you go.
I got you covered, man.
No, I was going to mention that later on, but I was going to mention that. Askarov. I was going to say that he had a fantastic night, but he did everything until he called up Bo Nickel. Like, what are you doing?
People with some of their unrealistic call-outs lately are just kind of like, head scratching.
How about Frivola with a good call-out of Paddy Pillman? Now, it's not going to happen, but the way he did it was even better. Like how he delivered it, I thought it was really good. I don't think Paddy Pillman wants that matchup.
No, he's not. He's like, a guy that counter punches. I'm gonna give it a B. Like the Gilbert Burns Belal Muhammad fight ended with an asterisk. Aljo won another split decision to where this dude is always going to have those little you can look at his record, but there's going to be a little tally mark next to some of his fights where they're just you can make an argument that he lost quite a few of his title fights at this point. So I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah, I'll give it like a B-. Just for the co-main event. The co-main event was a disappointment. I guess if you bet on Belal Muhammad, you'd be more excited. But I wanted to see a war between those two guys, and it wasn't. So I think we had some good finishes, some good performances. So overall, I was pretty satisfied. So I'll go B-. Type of question we always do is listener of the night. Do you have a listener of the night?
Oh man. Skynet always gives me shit in the chat.
Skynet's great. Skynet and 30 C West have both been hot tonight. But I think both of them have been winners more recently. So I'm not giving to them, but those guys were both great tonight.
Yeah.
Marcus Mustard, another good one.
Yeah.
Chris Wiz.
Most of the OGs are here. Jade Bunky, he had a lot of good stuff to say too.
That's what I'm gonna give mine to, Jade Bunky. That's my boy from Hawaii. That's my boy. He's good.
Awesome.
I met him in person. He's a great dude.
Awesome. I'm gonna do the corny thing and say aloha.
I don't think he's actually from. I think he's from like California or something. He was in vacation too.
That's great. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Jade too, man.
Oh, Chris, did you win last week? Is that why he's saying nothing wrong with a repeat winner? Did you win last week? We should be doing a tally of who's the listener of the. Like keep a running.
I went fishing during the recap. I had it in my ear, but I wasn't paying full attention, so I wasn't here. We weren't here last week, man.
Oh, so did you give one? Who's your listener?
I'm gonna go with Jade too.
Okay, there you go. Unanimous. Jade is our listener there. So there you guys have it. Not only I said we covered all the fights, but we actually skipped the prelims. I apologize if you missed the very beginning, guys. I have shingles. It's really, really bad. This is the good side, by the back of my head. Shingles is terrible. I gotta go to bed. I'm sorry. I'm in a lot of pain.
No worries, man.
So thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for all the love. We'll be back next week. We'll be recapping Jairzinho Rosenstruck versus Jailton Almeida card. Me and Ben are supposed to be taping the preview tomorrow. I don't know. Ben might have to provide solo, but I've done a lot of work on it already, so I'm going to try to get in there and do the preview. We'll see. So anyways, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.